So for the record, I was going to make a video sitting on the floor so that maybe Harper would snuggle with me, but clearly that ship has sailed. Night night, Harpy. Alright, I guess I'm working by myself. Oh well, onward and upward, right? So here I am, sitting on the floor. Harper doesn't want to snuggle anyway. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the power of observation, so thinking about how aware you are. So we're going to look at a picture to start with. We are going to look at the picture for 30 seconds. I'm going to time it on my phone. Okay. After 30 seconds, you're going to try to answer the 10 questions on your paper. Do not be a cheater and answer while you're looking. You're looking first with the picture, with the questions covered, and then you're looking at the questions. Okay? So don't even open it. If you open it, close it. Don't be a cheater. Okay? So I'm projected. I think you'll lose my face, but there's no love lost there, probably. Okay, so take 30 seconds, to stare at this picture. Try to remember everything that you can possibly remember about this picture. About 15 seconds left. And stop. Okay. So, now you have to answer the questions on the sheet of paper. Obviously, I didn't hand it to you, but it's on your Google Classroom. So you're going to open up the document about how aware are you, and you're going to answer those 10 questions. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and you can answer your 10 questions. Don't be a cheater. Nobody likes a cheater. Okay, now that you have answered those 10 questions, we'll take a look at the picture again, and we'll see how you did. So, question number 1. What's the name of the family restaurant? You can see right here, in the bottom right corner, the family restaurant's name is George's. How many people are feeding the pigeons by the fountain? So here is the fountain, and it looks like one person is feeding the pigeons by the fountain. How many trees are there by the fountain? 1, 2 trees. What is above the clothing store? So your clothing store is over here. Above the clothing store is a gym. What color is the car by the bookstore? So the car by the bookstore is way over here. I would argue that it is purple. However, if you are looking at it in my classroom on the projector, it seems like the color gets lost in translation, and it almost always looks blue on the projector. But on the regular screen, it looks purple. What building is behind the bookstore? So here's the bookstore. I don't really always know what they mean by behind. So behind, I think, means the movies back here, but kind of behind on the other side is that high five eyes. So I would usually accept either answer as correct. How many people are riding bikes? I think there is only this one guy riding bike. Very dangerous to see the crosswalk. What is the street the taxi is on? The taxi is on, you can see the street sign right there. It says First Street. Is the person lifting weights male or female? So we're back up into the gym. This person here lifting weights, I guess is a male. I think it's a little ambiguous, but I think it's probably a male. And who owns the hot dog stand? So down here is the hot dog stand. It is Joey's hot dog stand. Hopefully you noticed a lot about this picture. You were given 30 seconds to look at it. Hopefully you didn't notice too much, because that's the whole purpose of this activity, is to get the hang of the fact that you don't necessarily always see everything. And hopefully you weren't a cheater. So, in your notes there, it says, what is an observation? As I talk here, you can click back and forth and fill in your notes. So obviously we can't really do group work, so you could take a moment to brainstorm with yourself and write that down. Think about what you think is an observation, anything that comes to your mind. So hopefully you came up with a couple of things there. An observation is information we gather about what is around us through our 5 senses specifically. So anything you see, you taste, you hear, you smell, or you touch, those things are your 5 senses. After you make an observation, you typically will make an inference. A lot of times we mistake inferences for observations. Observations, really, we have to stick to those 5 senses. So if you didn't see it, taste it, hear it, smell it, or touch it, it was not an observation. So then you get to what is an inference. So I am going to give an example here. It says an inference is a conclusion based on an observation. So we'll look at a picture in a second and you can make an inference about the picture. My example that I often use people in the class, and I go based on what people are wearing, and I make an observation or I make an inference. So since I'm making this video at home, I have not gotten a chance to get to know most of you very well, but I do know one person in the class. So I'm going to use Courtney as my example. Hopefully Courtney doesn't mind. Let's say you guys all come into class and Courtney's wearing her soccer gear. I am going to pretend I don't know Courtney from a hole in the wall, and I see that Courtney is wearing Mohan girls soccer gear. So I see that she's wearing the gear. I would infer that she plays soccer for Mahanasan. Probably, unless she's been hanging out in my room during lunch periods, she's not actually playing soccer in my classroom. So I'm not observing her playing soccer. I'm making an inference that she plays soccer based on an observation. So that's one of the examples that I use often. I'll say the same thing with, if a student is wearing a particular jersey or a Giants t-shirt or a Lakers sweatshirt or whatever. I'll say, well, I'm not seeing you currently cheering for that team, but you're wearing their apparel, so you probably are a fan of that team. So here's a picture. You can make an inference about this picture. So again, an inference about this picture might be that she is calling in sick. Now, am I on the other end of the phone? No, I am not. I have no idea what she's calling in. Maybe she's calling her mom. Who knows? Maybe she's calling her husband. I have no idea. But my inference is that she's calling in sick. That's not something I can observe. I can observe that she's on the phone. I can observe that she's got a head wrap thing or ice packy kind of thing on her head. She's wrapped in a blanket. She looks like she's drinking a hot beverage. So I can observe those things and I can infer, again, I've made the inference that she's calling in sick to work. Your inference might have been, she maybe is calling her mom, or she is calling her husband, or her friend, or her children to tell them that she's sick. Maybe she is just calling to ask if they want to go to the mall later. Who knows? But that's an inference. The inference could kind of be right. There are certainly ways that your inference could be wrong, but there are many inferences that could be correct. Here's another picture. I'm going to give you a minute to look at this picture. I'm going to try not to get sad about this picture, but it says make an observation about this picture. So now you're telling me something that you see, you smell, you taste, you hear, or you feel. Physically feel, not emotionally feel. So obviously if you're looking at a picture, you're only using your sense of sight. The picture should not smell. You can touch the screen all you want, but you're not actually going to feel it. And please don't lick your computer screen to taste it. You should only be seeing it. Also, if it makes noise, please let me know, because that would be scary. So take a second to think about an observation for this picture. So an observation here might be, there are 2 dogs. That's an observation. There's a dog bed. There is a carpet. There is a kid's fire truck in the background, those kinds of things. Those are all observations that you can see. The most obvious thing that you would probably do in this picture, though, is you would infer something. So you might infer that these 2 dogs are siblings. Maybe you think that they're both my dogs. You might infer that the person holding the camera has a treat in their hand. You can't see that, but you might infer that. You might infer that there's a child around, but maybe not. Maybe Cooper and Casey just like to play with kids' fire trucks. You don't know. But that's the difference there. So you have to be able to sense it in one of your 5 senses to make the observation versus probably if I really asked you to off the cuff make an observation about this picture, you would actually probably make an inference, if that makes sense. Okay, so then you can make an inference about it. I already gave you some examples of the inference about it. So back to your worksheet. Why are we not all aware of all of the information that our senses are gathering at any time? Well, our brain applies a filter that helps us to pay attention to things that are most likely more important to us. They could be impacted by your changing environment, your emotional state, deep thought, any of those kinds of things. So let's say I'm trying to cross the street. I'm crossing in front of school and I'm in the crosswalk, but someone is ready to plow through the crosswalk and they almost hit me. So they come so close I put my hands on the hood of their car. Do you think I'm going to know what color their car was? Probably. Do you think I'm going to know what color the car is behind me in the intersection? Probably not. So it's all about filtering out the information that's not important. Your brain really can't hold all of the information all of the time. So it has to filter out the things that it deems is the most important. So again, if I'm in the intersection and I almost get hit by a car, I'm going to know for sure that what color that car was. But if another person rear-ended a car 2 cars down in the intersection, I would have no idea about that. And I may have heard it, but not realize what was happening because I was focused on what was happening in my world, in my immediate circle. So how is this information processed in your brain? Information comes in from our senses. It kind of gets filtered through what we pay attention to. Some of it is a matter of perception. So have you ever felt like someone was mad at you and it's just a matter of perception? You're kind of understanding it wrong, or the way it feels to you just feels different than someone else. That's all when you're interpreting information received from your senses. It's all a matter of perception. It often will get stored in the short-term memory. If I did not end up actually getting hurt by that car, then I would probably in a couple of months forget what color car that was. If I had a broken hip from the car, then it might be a more impactful situation for me, and I might end up putting that memory in long-term memory. And you could ask me 10 years later, and I could tell you it was a red car that hit me and broke my hip. So it depends on what kind of information it is and how it's perceived, and that will depend on where it gets stored, either in short-term or long-term memory. So the next thing I want you to do, or the last thing I guess I want you to do, and you don't really need to still be on the video for this, but I'm going to have shared this with you so that you can see it. You are going to click on those 2 links. The first one is just about 4 minutes. It's the Innocence Project video. And on your worksheet, you're going to see... it says the Innocence Project video 1, and there are 3 questions there that I'd like you to answer. The second video is a little longer. It's about 10 minutes, I believe. And it is another video put out by the Innocence Project, but it is a little more specific on the 5 top leading causes of wrongful conviction. So it goes just a little bit deeper into what you're going to see in that first video. So you're going to answer, then I put a couple questions in your worksheet on that one as well. So you're going to answer that. I'm going to provide you these links so that you can get to them in your Google Classroom post. And then once you're done with that, you'll be all set. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.